a public appearance at a party to mark the 50th birthday of the Defence Secretary Liam Fox. Former Prime Minister attended last night's event in London, along with David Cameron and stars that included the TV presenter Ross Kemp. Lady Thatcher is rarely seen in public, and she missed her own 85th birthday party last year following a health scare.
Well, Cambridge Jones, Sarah Kaywood here to take a look at the papers. Good morning and welcome. Good to see you. Cambridge, just wondering with your expert opinion, that shot of Lady Thatcher was not the most flattering, was it? It seemed like a snap taken by someone just walking by.
Yeah, and I think Liam particularly may not be happy with it. But, but it's also very hard. I'm about to do something with her, actually, myself, and it's quite hard at the moment because she's not that well.
Have you ever photographed her before?
No, I haven't. I've done 5 Prime Ministers and never shot.
Yeah, because it's the Iron Lady. You never see behind that mask, do you?
Yeah, no, it'd be very interesting, I think.
Yeah.
It's the missing piece in my jigsaw.
Oh, really?
So I'm very excited.
So you've done all the other Prime Ministers?
Yeah, since Heath.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And your favourite? In terms of photographic or...
This is where I get
subject.
This is where I get struck down. He's called Tony Blair.
Really?
Yeah.
Because he's such a good actor, or...?
Almost the opposite, actually. I feel he's and I've shot him in lots of different positions now, but I feel he is the person that you see on the telly, that you read in the book. And
oh, really?
Whereas everyone thinks there's this act.
Yes, absolutely.
And I shot him many times. I just don't feel like that. And I know I'm alone. I know.
His insincerity is sincerity.
There you go.
And you mean that most sincerely?
I mean that most sincerely.
Good morning once more and welcome. And we're looking at what might be the deal to fix the Eurozone crisis, or might not be. We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, what I find most extraordinary about this is that The Economist, particularly, I know for weeks and weeks and weeks, has been going,
it's going to
Greece
default.
can't pay this back, it's a default. Everyone knows that. When are we going to wake up to that reality? But what now seems odd is in the last 48 hours, they clearly have now acknowledged that, and they're just now in the position where they're having to deny it.
But even now, George Osborne said, no, we have made a decision. And that's what the markets want, don't they? They want someone to come out and say, this is what's happening and we're doing it.
But you'd presume that that's all been priced in a way by now, so that you'd have thought that if it all happens tonight or tomorrow, they know it's going to happen, because everybody can see it's going to happen. So it just bemuses me where reality is now.
I think it's probably down there rather than up there, but yeah.
Yes, I mean,
the problem is, of course, once they get Greece fixed, what's going to happen then about Portugal? The market's going to turn on Spain and Italy, and the whole thing repeats itself.
But we were talking, we had different experiences in Greece this year, just before we came on. I found Greece absolutely fine, and they laughed about it and said, crisis, what crisis? But you had a different opinion.
Yeah, it was very... I always thought it was lots of sort of abandoned tavernas and half-built hotels, but I don't know whether that's because of the crisis or whether, if, as I said to Cambridge, if I'd gone and there was no crisis, I would have just gone, oh, the Greeks haven't finished their buildings, or was it because of the crisis over there?
But expensive, I mean, but yeah, again, we were in Greece earlier, and that's really, really expensive now, the euro, so... Anyway, we'll see what happens to the markets on Monday. Now, Sarah, in the Telegraph, there's a different take on the Amanda Knox, the appeal hearing going on ahead in Perugia. This is Meredith Kercher's friend who's come and spoken publicly now.
Yes, and she never has before, and she's finally sort of broken her silence and said that she thinks that Amanda Knox did kill Meredith Kercher. And the reason I thought this was interesting is it's an odd time to finally come out and say something, because it looks like Amanda Knox might actually be acquitted because the DNA evidence was so flimsy. And I just think that, I think it's in about 10 days that will happen, and I think it will be all over our front pages. I think it will be world news, whatever happens to her.
Because it certainly looks as if the appeal is concentrating on the DNA evidence, or what the defence says is the lack of DNA evidence.
Yes, absolutely. It says doubts have been cast on key DNA evidence linking Knox. They say that the knife that was supposedly the murder weapon was meant to have had Kercher's blood on it and Knox's DNA on the handle, but actually it didn't.
And I guess the only thing we know with any confidence is actually how the Italian investigators really made a complete mess of the post-killing investigation, didn't actually rope it off properly or
yeah, and that's Natalie says that Amanda knew too much about the murder scene, but Amanda's defence of that is that they were talking openly at the murder scene about where it was and what was going on in there, so she heard them and understood them. Yeah.
Anyway, Nick Pease will be updating us from Perugia on how that appeal goes, as you say, in about 10 days' time. Coming up in the papers, some of the stories we're talking about next. The woman who survived a miracle face transplant, talking to the Mirror about her new face and her new life as well. And the rubbish bins tipped, get it, to take the world by storm. Back to those papers with Cambridge and Sarah. Good morning once more and welcome. And we're going for a cultural discussion, Cambridge.
Are we?
Yes, or at least it says here. Well, is our culture too much enthralled to the past?
Well, I saw Tinker Tailor's Soldier Spy last night.
Oh, did you? Are you going to see it tonight, Sarah?
Big seat tonight.
Unbelievable. It's
really?
Insanely good. And so this caught my eye because there's a debate here about whether our culture is obsessed by the past or whether it should be all in the present and all about stuff now. And they're sort of batting it backwards and forwards. But I also saw the new Woody Allen film, which is fantastic, because he's obsessed by this. And he takes you, he says, so we'll go back to these people in Paris in the 1920s. And he gets there, and they're all going, wouldn't it be great if we lived in the 1890s? And so this notion of living in the past versus the present is
rose-tinted glass.
Is that because we always feel that the past was better?
Yeah.
And it's a sort of comfort blanket almost.
But I sort of think it's surely more interesting than setting it in the future after there's only so much you can invent about the future.
Which they loved doing in the 50s.
Which they do.
You know,
and I love Star Trek and all that.
Yeah.
But I sort of think there's probably more to learn in a way from history than there is from making stuff up, as it were, as you go along. So,
yeah.
But no, I love all these things. I love Mad Men, I love The Hour, I love Tinker Tailor.
They take the best bits, though, don't they?
Yeah.
Of all
But that's
those,
why
decades gone by.
Yeah, that's why it's great.
Yeah.
I'm not sure there
Anyway,
was that
we'll see what the ratings do with all those sort of backward-looking. I suspect that yes, it plays very well at the box office, isn't it? So now on to the future, the Olympics, and the Times saying tube chaos beckons.
Yeah.
Can it get any worse? I
This
don't know.
concerns me. I actually had read a little bit about this before I saw this story today. But Transport for London are trying to encourage up to 60% of people that work in those high-traffic areas not to go to work during the Olympics next year. That's is it 3 weeks? Is it 21 days?
So what, you phone the boss up and say, no, sorry, the Olympic Committee say I've got to stay at home today?
Or basically, they said they'll only be able to cope if 60% of people who normally work there stay away or change their travel plans. So, alter their working hours, work in offices outside London, or allow staff to take time off. It's going to be like snow days all over again. I couldn't get to work, it was too busy.
Well, they had the cycle race going down to Surrey, I think, through sort of Hampton Court, and the whole of southwest London came to a grinding halt because no one had said that they were going to shut all the streets off.
And indoors all day.
And that's just the practice. I mean, imagine when you've got all the tourists coming as well. I just think
it's the early hours of a Sunday morning.
Lots of news headlines for us to worry people with. Now, on to the Sunday Mirror, and, well, literally a brave face.
Yeah, I mean, I chose this. I mean, because I photograph people, I'm fascinated by the face because that's the thing you hone in on. And indeed, we're talking about doing a whole series on this with Sky. But actually, the reason I chose this is actually to do with the fact that she says, I have a new face, but it's not my face. And I think that sort of psychologically is an extraordinary reflection on how important the face is to our sense of identity. So she sort of feels better that she has a face, but it's not her when she looks in the mirror. And what an extraordinary feeling that must be. But I'm just
does it give her the ability to interact and communicate with people because they can see facial expressions?
I think that's it. And I think we're very tied up in the notion that somebody's identity and character is their face, and that you can almost lose anything else but not the face and still have your character and your identity. And I'm sure that's why. So she must feel she's over 50% of the way back to having a character.
An amazing surgical step forward, isn't it? And, anyway, yes, but difficult times. On to the literati, as it were. Yet another pun from the Sunday Times.
I love this story because I just think that I have a real bugbear about litter bugs. When I see people throw things out of their car, I actually want to have them pulled over. It really irritates me. They're thinking of getting these talking bins that will say something when you put something in it. So it might have a short burst of Handel's Hallelujah chorus, a cheer, or even a loud belch. And celebrities are going to be lending their weight to it as well. So actress Amanda Holden and Michael Palin might say something like, nobody expects a Spanish binquisition, anyone, when people put stuff in. Which I think is lovely because kids will be so encouraged to not put litter on the ground.
I think more effective would be a voice of shame if people drop stuff on the pavement. That would be more effective, wouldn't it? Or you pick pick that up.
Yeah.
Talking
coming from
pavements might be a bit more expensive.
Victor Meldrew,
than
I
talking
don't
bins,
believe
think.
it. Yes.
I just love that, and what concerns me is little children that love it are going to be putting the contents of Mummy's handbag in the bin to
And a
hear it
whole
talk.
new career for out-of-work actors that can do voiceovers from Little Bins. There we are. What could be better? Excellent. Thank you very much indeed for your selection this morning. We'll see you soon. Now, what about Jonah Lomu? Have we got an update on what's been happening?
We
with
don't
him?
know too much.